Happy Halloween. Hey guys, Sajady here. Hope you are all doing well. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Sajady. Welcome to Mas on Sunday. Again, we're celebrating Halloween, basically the Day of the Dead, right? The Day of the Dead is, well, it's more than you think. And that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about spirits and understanding the deep science. Let me just take this off so we become real. And as always, again, analyzing people, right? Scanning people. I've got some people in the background raising their hands, waiting to be scanned. I do that as well, by the way. And I know it sounds crazy, especially for those sciencey type individuals that go, that stuff isn't there. It's not real. What's here is more real than anything. There's nothing more. That's not true. This is the only reality that is not real. It's crazy, isn't it? So this reality and then all the experiences that you have, it's a hologram. It's not real. The only thing that's real is your higher self. Or if you want to call it your spirit, I would call it your timeless self. Crazy, right? I actually talked about this on The Matrix. I did a whole podcast on The Matrix. So take a look out for that. It's called The Matrix. And I answered some of the higher level science questions, which really is based on this as well. Just give me 1 second here, guys. I'm just hearing my guests that we're going to have on. We'll go ahead and mute them. There we go. Because today, by the way, I had to mute my guest. Today, we are going to analyze two people live. Like we always do at the end of the month, analyze two people live to see how fast and potent one can transform. Literally, psychology, self-improvement, goal setting, all those things that we think about, they're nice. They're about 1% of what you need, right, to transform your life. The 99% is what we offer here with Xponential Intelligence. So XI is the body of knowledge that I put together as put together as a handbook. It's a handbook of life. It's a logistics on how you need. It's the logistics that you need to have a fantastic life. That life that's like uber abundant, literally uber abundant. So, all right, back into our topic. Spirits. What we'll do in this Mas on Sunday is demystify the misunderstood world of the unseen. And then two, give logical explanations backed by solid results that go beyond the fuzzy logic of science. Again, like I said, the fuzzy logic of science. Scientists think that, what they see is fact and all that. It's really not. Because if you look at the things that they've proven, those things that they've proven only work in one situation. And for somebody to reproduce, scientists to reproduce that exact same situation so it works out right, all the variables have to be the same. They can't recreate it in any other scenario. But look at life. Look at how many billions of scenarios there are, and it works. That makes sense? Their experiment only works in one scenario, and then they call that success. That's why I call it fuzzy logic. It's like, well, it only worked this one time here, and then we're going to take that as fact, and then everything else is not true. So again, we got to break that pattern. We got to break that paradigm and get back into the real science. Scientists like Tesla and Einstein and Newton and all those great individuals that it's like, hey, like Newton, for example, right? The concepts of gravity. He figured out something that works in all aspects. He went back down to, say, nature's level or the universe level and go, oh, these are the scientific principles that we need to adhere to. Not create new principles that, again, only work in a few cases. Okay. I don't know why I had to get that off my chest, but I had to get that off my chest. So if you have any questions, I'll answer some ghoulish questions on the dead, the occult. My facial hair is back. Thanks, guys. Anyway, the dead, the occult, all those things. Yes, I can answer those questions. This is a great time for you. So let's talk about some of the stuff that's out there. Like spirits. What are spirits? What are entities? What else is there? Spirits, entities, dead people. What is that about? Ghosts. What is that about? right? So let's jump into the deep science on what that's about, and how it all comes to be and how real it is actually. Okay, so take a deep breath in, and we'll create a all right. Just reading some of the topics here, some of the interesting questions. All right, so let's get into what say spirits are. Okay, so spirits, when you feel them, so imagine levels, and we'll and the science behind it, guys. If you want to look at science of death, it's a lecture series that I did. If you really want to know how death works and how death affects you, I'm not going to go into the deep science of death, but I'll give you an understanding, an overview on how, say, some people say spirits. How many of you all see spirits? How many see, your dead grandmother? How many experience or feel, sense, or know that there's a presence around you? Like, oh, I feel like, your mother passed away. It's like, oh, I feel my mother around me all the time, or I feel my mother in me all the time, or I feel, somebody around me, or, when you walk into a building. My son is really good at this. He goes, Dad, is there ghosts in here? Right? Those things. How many of you do that? How many of you notice, experience that? Those things are real, by the way. Okay. Sometimes you can create them. They're hallucinations in your mind, and you make it real. So there's that scenario, but so I'm just giving you all aspects of it. So people can hallucinate and experience things there. And that's where science stops and goes, it's just a hallucination. It's really not. Because a lot of times, almost all the time, when they're real, and I can tell through my abilities, by the way, that we all have, when they're real, I can tell. I can tell when they're real, and I can tell when you're hallucinating. Right? That's how my abilities work. So when you feel like the dead, again, a grandmother, uncle, great aunt coming to you, and so on like that. We can talk about angels and so on like that. What happens is that the physical world is a level zero reality. The physical world is always a level zero reality. Okay, we can't ascend higher because in this physical level zero reality, we need the constraints of time and space, density, and so on like that, created by time and space to create this reality that we experience. So that's why it can never go beyond. It's like a revolver, right? We always stay at a level zero reality, although we're always ascending. Okay, but it's always the lowest level, if that makes sense to you. It'll always be, so it just keeps revolving. So as we ascend higher to a level 1, 2 reality, we'd be still considered a level 0 reality. Hopefully that makes sense. So and lately we've ascended, and that's why all the chaos and all this bullshit coming up, because as we ascend higher and higher, we can't hold on to our bullshit. We can't hold on to the dark stuff here. We can't hold on to the dead here. Because in reality, in this reality or in society, nobody knows how to die properly. Okay, so imagine the burdens of your parents. Okay, parents is whoever your loved ones. They don't cross over properly. Okay, where the living is a level 0 reality, the dead basically cross over into the next reality. They're not supposed to do that. Okay, in an awakened society or awakened species, they don't cross over where they should. They don't go to heaven, so to speak. And again, I just use the term loosely just because of time, and everybody knows. Again, heaven is not a space; it's a consciousness level that you go to, which is way beyond the level that we exist in. This view as well. There we go. So again, way beyond the consciousness that we entertain here. So when people die, they transfer from a level 0 reality, they just float into a level 1 reality, or maybe the next level up, level 2 reality or consciousness. Okay, at that layer there, you can't create density, so you can still experience your identity, you can experience your presence, or you can experience your spirit, and you can still be aware of what you're doing there. Okay, all things are not happening to you at once because you're still stuck in the boundaries of time and space. So just think of it in your dream state. You don't need your body to do go through some of the dream experiences that you've had. It's real, right? It feels real for you. It literally is, like I say, a dream state, but it's not in your mind. It is, again, at a higher level consciousness. Some of you actually travel out of your body into different realities. So let's take a deep breath in again. So we're at level 0, reality, consciousness. Okay. We transfer, we elevate, we die, we go into a level 1. And then what happens over time when you can feel people around you, they have no power source. Right? There's no energy mechanism for them like your body to maintain. Okay. So what happens is, or there's no reflection, basically. So if you're feeling a presence around you, okay, so if you're feeling a presence around you, that means that you are giving them energy for you to sense them. So that's why people who are empathic, they can feel things around. You are generating energy. And that's why when you walk into a room with a lot of ghosts and spirits around, you walk out drained. Say there's 50 people up there hanging out. Say you go to an empty abandoned mental asylum, right? You're walking through an empty hospital, right? A lot of dead people, or even a full hospital that's still around, right? But when you walk through like those, say I went to Colorado, and they had this restaurant. It's called the Asylum. And now I know why. It used to be an asylum. Beautiful view up on top of a mountain. Who's been there? I don't know what part of Colorado there is. The audio is out of sync for you guys. Yeah, guys. Sorry, guys. The audio might be out of sync. I'm trying to fix that for you. But just work with me here and we'll try to fix it later. Sorry, guys. Anyway, I went to this, it's called the Asylum. It's in Colorado. So if you know what city that is, shout it out here. So when you start to, again, those individuals, they didn't go anywhere. They just went to that first reality. Okay, from 0, they went to the first reality, or maybe the second. So what happens now is that as you walk through, you're generating energy to generate the reality that you exist in. Okay, the objects around you. Okay, you're actually rendering those objects for you. And then what's happening is that those people, for you to experience it, and that's why not some people go, well, I don't experience anything, I don't see anything, I don't I don't feel cold, I don't feel whatever, all those things. Well, the reason why is that they're so closed off, right? They're not expending energy, they're not plugging into anything or anyone for them to experience it. That's why some people see ghosts and feel ghosts and some people don't. Simple as that. The people that don't feel ghosts are those individuals who, again, are a closed system. Okay? They don't share their frequencies or energy, nor would you want to. Okay? The people who can experience ghosts and so on like that, Henderson, Colorado, thanks. They share their frequencies. They basically are a plug-in port, right? A charging system, and everybody plugs into you. So, and then you can experience spirits around you, and then there are other spirits as well. So, what those spirits? What happens is that spirits, or did you guys ever see? There's that movie Ghost. Did you guys ever see Ghost? Right, that guy that can kick the can, right? He teaches, what's his name, to kick the can, right, in the subway. So how do they do that? Well, they're in that realm. They're then that first reality, and they start to observe, the reality below. They start to observe the reality below, and over time, because they've been dead for a while, over time, what they start to do, they start to understand the mechanics. They start to understand the mechanics of how to create density, and this is where they become wispy, or some shape or form, but not complete shape or form, because again, they don't have that much energy. They pull energy from, say, the environment. They absorb energy from, say, nature, people around them. You go to a subway station, there's a lot of people that go back and forth, right? So they're pulling energy here and there. So again, they figured out how to say absorb the energy that's there and then render it on their own. And this is where some of you can see ghosts and smell ghosts and feel, say, the temperature where they're at, if that makes sense to you. So that's how. So that's what ghosts are. That's what spirits are. They're interchangeable. Entities. Entities are interesting. Entities are fragments of energy that didn't form. So kind of like an aborted baby, say like the third, fourth month, they quite didn't form. They have a consciousness. So there's a consciousness that is in everything. Consciousness, say a tree has a consciousness. To understand that it's a tree, a maple tree, for example, has a consciousness or a directive or basically a blueprint. Goes, hey, I'm a maple tree. I'm supposed to grow like this. My leaves are supposed to be like this. And, I need this type of nutrition. And this is what I do. Okay. I'm a squirrel. Again, I'm a human. Human, you have a certain directive, objective, and that's why all your body parts will look like human. Does that make sense to you? So again, those are blueprints, right? Blueprints on how you render yourself here. A bacteria has a blueprint. A grain of sand has a blueprint. Anything that you can touch, feel, experience here has a blueprint in the physical realm on what it is, or basically a consciousness on what it is. So an entities are forms that somehow got aborted or disconnected. So they start to create like a consciousness. I have consciousness, and then I don't know, they get aborted somehow. So they get aborted, and then all of a sudden, and that's why they're distorted, disoriented. You see entities and ghoulish figures, and how many of you see that, all that stuff? You see entities, ghoulish figures, and all those things that are out there, and they're distorted and gross, unfortunately, and that's the reason why they didn't form into whatever that they needed to form into. Again, like an aborted baby. It's interesting. And then I'll answer some of the questions that are pertaining to the subject that we've got. Okay, and I can actually take you into some dark realms if you want, since it's Halloween. Okay, and I can explain the Day of the Dead as well, and how you don't want to get involved. Okay. So Faye, my fiance, she's an artist, and great artist, by the way. She took me to a friend of hers, and he's got this studio, and it's like some ghoulish figures, crazy and he paints them. I think he draws them, but then he also turns them into sculptures. Okay, and I walked into his studio. It was an open studio. I walked into his studio, and I looked at some of the figures. I was like, holy shit, I've seen that entity. I've seen that entity. I've seen that entity. It's like, well, and then I talk to him and I tell him how he does it, because again, those realities are real. I've been in those realities, not for myself, but for other people. Okay. So what he does, and some of you might do this, what he does is goes into those realities that maybe some of those entities exist for real. Okay, some of the deformed entities and so on like that. So how can I see something that he's seen and imagined and then created in real life? Okay, so it's as real as it gets. It's as real as this reality, by the way. Again, even more real, because those higher realities actually render the physical reality here. They're filter upon filter. So those higher realities, the unseen, is the foundation or the basis of this reality. Without those realities, this reality could not exist. It would not have, say, a wireframe, a framework for this to render itself in. Crazy, right? All right, let's take a deep breath in again. I smell dead people. I'll tell you how that happens. Notice your chest area. We'll bring in some, say, dark frequencies for you. And then you tell me what you feel. So, um, where was I? Oh, so the key is, again, those realities exist, okay? Because I literally can see the exact same thing that he was, sculpting. Okay, some of you go, Moss, I see this and this reality, and I tap into that reality. Okay, now if it was in your, say, mind, if it was a hallucination, I couldn't really do that. I can kind of sense it, but again, I couldn't. I couldn't do that, or I couldn't connect. So again, those realities are real, and it gives you, an insight. It's like, well, if I'm seeing it and I know what you're seeing, and then you're seeing it and experiencing it, again, it's not in your mind. It's somewhere out there. So it'd be cool to, have more science behind it. I smell dead people. Yes. So sometimes there's people who start to smell, and what that is that there's smells that go beyond your, olfactory system, right? Just like dogs who hear, the higher tones. It's out there, but we can't hear the higher tones. Dogs can. We can't. Simple as that. So excuse me. And this is what intuition is all about. And that's why I say I'm not intuitive, because I don't use my five senses. So people who are highly intuitive, they have increased their capacity. They have increased their capacity for sensing things. Simple as that. Okay. So for example, if you could, and I'm just throwing numbers out there just for example, if humans can hear, I think like what's the limit for human hearing? I don't know, like 210 or 250. Let's say 250 decibels, something like that. It could be higher, maybe 400. Anyway, um, how are you guys feeling? Not too good, huh? And again, you guys are totally safe. I just want you to experience, because it's not just a feeling that I brought to you. This is the cool part. This is I revolved the consciousness or the reality that you experience yourself in. And that's why you're feeling it. Say that you were in room X. Your room X was the reality that you existed in, right? I put you into room B, a different room, and that's what you're experiencing. So those head pressure, hurting, there's a coolness in the air, I feel a headache, all those things. Those are all your patterns on how you would experience, say, those ghoulish realms, right? Or enter. And I can take it deeper if you want. I don't know if you'd want to, but again, I can take you deeper if you want. So back to the smelling of death, or kind of getting an insight, right? Well, the insights are basically people who have future vision. They can tap into people who are dying or get ill or get hit by a bus or whatever. Um, so people who can smell, or they can see death in people. Basically, again, from say 400 decibels, of hearing. I'm sorry, I'm just giving you a decibel, example, because it's easier. So your hearing abilities go to 500-600. Okay, again, frequencies of a higher level, say higher level frequencies. Same thing with scent. Your nose starts to smell. You get a more sensitive nose, and then there is a certain scent of death, and it reeks, guys. It's so bad. So some of you saying no thank you, no thank you. All right, so for those who do, I can take you there. For those, we'll just limit you. Just give me a second. Just take a deep breath in. And the way I do that for you, because it's not just one frequency that I'm sending out. Through the years, over a decade of me doing this, my ability is really mastering those abilities, which we all have, and I teach. I can like put you in, say, certain subcategories or rooms, basically. So for those people who don't want, I can create, say, a certain frequency for you. And for those who, say, are more adventurous, again, you're totally safe. It's just like going into a haunted house, guys, right? You get the thrills and everything. You come back out and you're okay. There we go. But in the real world, you might not be so okay, because again, the Day of the Dead, people celebrate the Day of the Dead in Mexico. It's a huge celebration. It's not a good thing. Just like Christmas, it's not a good thing, and all those things, because they're not based on Jesus, by the way. Christmas and all that stuff. I'm not saying not to celebrate Christmas. I'm saying just to celebrate differently. Okay. I'm not saying not to celebrate Halloween. I'm saying to celebrate differently. Whatever celebration that you do, or cultural celebration that you do, again, you want to clean that up. Just like anything, I'm not telling you not to do this or do that, because that would turn into another religion. But be at a high level consciousness while you do it, and then you're good. But when you're summoning the Day of the Dead, right, you are pulling in, just think, all your ancestors, because that's what they do. We honor the day. We honor the dead that's crossed over, right? So what do? We call them. They're the next reality over, guys. They're like the next door neighbors. It's like, oh, and then you, when you're living, you go, well, when I'm dying, I shouldn't go to heaven, because we're going to have a party every year and all the dead come back. So again, it bypasses your belief systems. It bypasses the natural, say, physics of how you should die. Again, you should go to heaven. So that's all fucked up for you. Okay. And religion doesn't do things, religion. And because of religion, if you look at religion, what happens is that those areas who are highly religious pockets, like the Bible Belt in the South, why would you think that, it's kind of crazy, why would you think that there are more incidences of voodoo, satanic worship, all those dark, witchcraft, right? What is it? Wiccan, all those things. Whenever there's, say, a religious belt like that, there's also the darkness. They go hand in hand, because they're just different versions of the same thing. They're not pure. You're not practicing. I'm not saying those religions are dirty. I'm not saying you shouldn't practice those religions, but practicing the way a Jesus would, practice them the way a Buddha or Muhammad would, not the way you've been taught or the way you practice. That's all I'm saying, guys. Don't go, Moss doesn't like religion. I didn't say that. I'm just saying, look at what you're getting. Okay, look at the bottom line of your religions. If it's not working for you, you're not practicing it like Buddha, Jesus, Muhammad. And I say this over and over again, especially when the Day of the Dead happens. Okay, because that's not a good experience. People do that in Hawaii, right? People do that in Hawaii, and I've cleaned up a lot of land in Hawaii for people, a lot of farms, right? They have night walkers and all that, so that's the reason why they pull. Or for you, for example, at an individual level, somebody dies, crosses over, it's like, well, I want them because I want them to be my guide. Sure, but it doesn't benefit you, because now you start to die and decay. And this is where a lot of times you'll start to feel entities or spirits in you, or somebody that takes over you, and all those things, right? Like some of those crazy movies that you see, like Insidious and all those things are real. It's like a day. My daughter took me there. It's like, Dad, let's go see this movie. And it's like, okay. And I look at it, it's like, shit, it's a day at the office for me. A lot of you who are, say, possessed, or feel like you're possessed, or taken over, or consumed, sins of the father, again, selling yourself to the devil, all those things start to become real for you. By the way, I talk about that, the science of Satan, for those who really want to understand what heaven is about, what hell is about, all those things. Again, it's on the lecture series. So this one, I don't feel much different, but I've been feeling very down today. Well, there you go. You're feeling different. I've been dealing with exorcisms since I started XI almost 4 years ago, and finally stopped days ago. Nice. So again, anything that again, you started XI, you yeah. So it's not that XI brought those exorcisms with you in your family. By the way, in your family, you practice holding on to the dead. They're near and dear to you. Some of in your family, whoever wrote that, you'd be not you, but your mother would have like pictures or almost like an altar, for the dead. And there's nothing wrong with that. But again, the way most people do, or the most people have the altar, is that presence of that person at the time they were living. Okay, what you want to do is, if you want to have an altar, which is totally cool, if you want to have an altar, understand that they're dead. They shouldn't be in this reality. It's like, hey, you're dead. This is your picture that's here. Okay. And then what's really cool is you bring in their spirit into this reality. And that's becomes a blessing of the dead. That's what you want. A blessing of the awakened dead, not the dead that had cancer and died, not the person that got shot 100 times and died and you're holding on, and I say that because how many people have died in wars and, killings and all those things, right? Murders, right? All throughout. And then what do? My son got shot in a gang fight. They create an altar. And what do you do when that happens? What do you do when you're creating that altar? You're creating it's crazy, but the last few moments of their death, unfortunately, it's really, really sad. And we'll yeah, I'm getting tears here. Sorry. It's really sad. So the last few moments, and whoever that is, your son got shot like 3-4 times from what I'm seeing. Yeah. And now you have the picture of them, almost like an altar type deal. It's so sad. And then so you create that altar, and then what happens from that is literally the last moments of death, them or him, and then you is in that space. It's called a time space. Okay. And it's like time moment. It's a frozen time moment. And you go to that space, or look at that picture, it pulls you into that moment of death. So for you get pulled in and you can never let go of those emotions. Okay. For the person, in this case, your kid, your son that died, what happens is that they're experiencing the last moments of death during their death. So, and they get stuck, and it just creates this churn, and it's not good because you're churning frequencies that should be pure. A distorted frequency, again, death in nature is it's a purity, it's a filters out all the garbage, and then you blossom into, a beautiful springtime, right? In human death, it doesn't work that way. And that's why all the crazy shit, the darkness, the decay, some of you who might have, say, are living a previous lifetime, right? You experienced some of the death that you had. I had this, I'll give you this one example, and then we'll go into a meditation and free all those individuals who died needlessly. And for those individuals who have held an altar or can't let go of their death, okay, or have a picture of them. So again, I'm not saying you get rid of your altar or the picture or anything like that, but bringing in their higher person connected to that picture, right? That's what you want, okay? So, all right. So let's take a deep breath in. So this was a while back, but it was the most intriguing scenario. So there was this woman, and she had come to me because she had gone to a lot of doctors all over the world, and they couldn't figure out why her organs were grayish red. Okay, literally, she was decaying. Her organs were decaying over time. So as she got older, she was literally dying in the flesh. Okay, so I tap into her, and again, she's been everywhere. Some of the best hospitals, pretty wealthy, best hospitals all over the world. Shamans, medicine men and all that stuff. And, she comes in, and this is just like, it was back in the day where I had like, 20-minute, 45-minute sessions. Now I can do the same thing in about 5 minutes. By the way, and back then, we used to change lives a lot slower. It might have taken like 21 days or 30 days, but nowadays I can even change lives, transform your life in 18 days. Hyper meditations coming up next month, guys. 18-day hyper meditations, radically transforming your life in 18 days. All you have to do is listen and you'll feel the frequencies just like you are now, just like you are now. Again, we'll go deeper. We'll go deeper into, say, the dark caverns of darkness. Okay, kind of like an ayahuasca experience, right, where they take you into the place of the dead and you're supposed to walk up. So it's kind of like that without the ayahuasca. Simple as that. So we'll do that for those people who want to go into the depths of death. Let's take a deep breath in. And then for those who want to stay, they're here kind of observing. So anyway, this lady, she comes to me, and it's a telephone call. She comes to me and I go, wow. And I didn't know this, by the way. And I go, when I see your organs, it's like they're dying. It's like, yeah, well, that's why I'm here, because I've given up on everything else. Nobody else has figured out what's wrong with me. So I go, wow. And then I go, there's something wrong with your fingernails. It's almost like, you have minerals or whatever coming out of your fingernails. It's like, oh my God. It's like, yeah, I don't know what it is. There's things that come out like, like minerals or crystals, like having sand underneath your nails. It's like, I get that all the time. It's like, what? I go, wow, what is that? And her body was literally a rectangle. I go, it's just like you feel like a rectangle. It's like, yeah, my shoulders, my head, it's just like I have no neck. It's literally just a straight. And there was some other things as well, and then all of a sudden I'm working on her, and all of a sudden it's like it flashes back. And it flashes back to a lifetime, which was like, I think 2-3 lifetimes before this one. So for 3 lifetimes, she's been experiencing this, basically death in the physical form. There's enough people that do that, by the way. It's not just random or very few, or there's people who, again, re-experience their previous lifetime deaths here. Or if you don't believe in previous lifetimes, they experience their predecessor's death, like a great aunt, great grandma, whatever, and they're reliving, say, their death in your body. Okay, that happens as well. How many people who have freed, by the way, done that? So anyway, it flashes through, and I go, oh my God, you were buried alive, and you woke up in your grave, in your coffin, and you were like scratching to get out, and then that was your last moments. And it's like, and then she it's like I could just feel that release. And it's like, oh my God, I feel suffocated in closed spaces. I get scared in the dark. All those things that you would experience being in a coffin, alive. So, and there used to be a lot of those. That's why they take your blood out, just to make sure that you're dead. Kind of crazy, huh? How many people have died like that? So they made a system where they literally, well, cremation is one way, but they literally, just to make sure, and that's why they take the blood out of you, just to make sure you're completely dead. Or if you're not, you are dead. Just think how many people like that died back in the day, and now they come back with their issues. Kind of like PTSD, previous lifetime. So let's take a deep breath in. Kind of crazy stuff, huh? What about 10 deaths of ancestors through exile last few years? Yep. Yeah, for you, for example, Jack, some of the ancestors, and sometimes what happens for you, Jack, this is how this works, is that say that you are so deaths like that when you're going through exile. Say so the science behind that is where science behind that is where you have a lot of an individual's DNA makeup. Like, say, your grandmother, right? You look like your grandmother, for example, right? You've got a lot of her DNA makeup, her blueprint. So you would experience not just the way you look, but then her, mannerisms and all that, right? Because everything's a program. So when you go through XI, you experience those deaths. Basically, it's like the grandma's portion has to die off. So you still, again, retain some of the, the look of your body. And this is why I say I can change people at a genetic level. But grandma dies off. You literally feel like a death of grandma because her presence, again, her presence is not there in you, but her cellular structure, or her DNA design is in you. And then also her memories are in you, because that we hold on to memories. So as you clean up and become you, only you, right? You get the good things, but not the emotions and all that stuff that we, pass on. And then you clean that out, and then there's a death. So that's what's happening to you, Jack. So I'm just going to take 5 minutes, guys, 4 minutes actually. Let's take a deep breath in. A lot of crazy stuff, huh? If you understand death, you understand how to live. Breath in again. So we're going to do a couple things. Breath in. Notice your chest, the back. Notice those for those individuals who are or who have, like say, your father, died in the war, or a shooting, or death like that. Or any death actually, and then you're having an altar, so to speak, or a picture of them, right? And then you're cycling, basically. Breath in again. Mediums, guys, who talk to the dead. First, if you're a medium or a channel that talk to the dead, come see me. I'll show you how to do that differently, because when you're channeling dead people, it's not a good thing. We will have higher level classes for those individuals who are mediums, channels, intuition type, because those are low level frequencies of connecting to the other side. We'll get you into the space where you still have your abilities. Breath in again. I'm just doing a couple things. Yeah. You still have your abilities, but they come from you. Can spirits hold you back from progressing? Absolutely. Happens all the time. Especially for you, whoever that is. You're running your mom's patterns. So it might not be spirit. It's almost like you're an identical blueprint of your mom. There we go. So, and then also, spirits can hold you back from enjoying. Say, like, there's people who become really, really successful, but they're entertaining spirits. They won't enjoy the success that they have, because it's not their success. Breath in again. Moss is the heaviness I've been feeling because of the time of year and my dead ancestors. So, I predicted this a while back in this COVID space as well. No, I'm not going to get into all that. Notice your spines. And then for those who, again, have a loved one that have died, and you've got pictures, altars, whatever that you might, or you've kept their room still there. Okay. Right. Your son dies and the room again becomes a whole altar. So frozen in time, basically. So resetting all those things for you, or you're holding on to jewelry and all that from loved ones that have crossed over. Let's clean that up as well. And you might go, people who don't believe, think, I don't believe this shit. Those people who have jewelry, even if you don't believe it, or the room will feel very, very different. It'll feel like vibrant because it's their current state as I help them awaken as well, and they cross over. So literally freeing them from, say again, a space and time that's frozen. Just running a little over time, but seems like you needed. What I predicted a while back is that as we evolve into the next consciousness, right, or that next consciousness, the level one consciousness basically drops into a level zero consciousness. Like I was talking before, that's how we elevate. What happens is whatever is in level one consciousness now is in level zero consciousness as well. So if there's a lot of dead people, especially with hospice and the way people die nowadays, they're so drugged up, they don't even know that they're dead. What happens? They go to the next layer. Now the next level one reality is level zero reality. This is what you're experiencing now: heaviness, chaos, people wanting to go back, diseases of the old, death of the old. You start to see your family members and you'll start to see old. It's like, oh, I see your grandpa in you or whatever. That's where that comes from. Wonderful breath in. Lost my friend with brain cancer. Feel him around you all the time. He's running around going, hey, I didn't want to die. All right. So I'll keep you in this space. And again, because of time, I didn't know it was going to be such a big subject, but a lot of you, again, burden yourself with that. Let's see. We'll go to, let's take a deep breath in, guys. Again, I'll continue to work on you. Okay. And again, I can explain the way my abilities work later on. Actually, yeah, I do explain it on the 18-day introductions we got. There's 1, 2, and we're going to have a third one as well. So take a look at those. Those are free. It explains how, again, my abilities work, how XI is very, very different than, psychology or anything else that you've tried in the past to transform your life. So we'll go to Jacqueline. Oh, hey, Jacqueline. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
I can't hear you. I was.
I'm unmuted though. Can you hear me now?
Oh, wait a second. Give me 1 second. There we go. Hi.
Hi.
There we go, hon. How are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Good. Alrighty. Kind of crazy subject, huh? Kind of
Yeah.
didn't know what you're getting into, by the way, from what I'm seeing. Anyway, so before we start, Jacqueline, again, it's okay for me to analyze you, scan you, right, on public, and then use this format. That's okay, right?
Yeah, totally.
All right, fine. Fantastic. Again, I'm not a medical doctor. I don't diagnose or heal. I can scan your frequency signature and tell you what I see. And then if I do tell you about anything medical, again, please consult your doctor. Okay. Alrighty. So, how long have you been with me, or are you new, or?
Yeah, I just completed the October 18 day.
Oh,
So it's
wonderful.
been quite a ride.
Yeah. So, and again, a lot of changes for you, and then, but things like falling apart from what I'm seeing, and you're actually excited about it. Does that make sense? Yep. Because your life basically over time, what happens, Jacqueline, is like you get compressed. You get again put into like a prison cell, and that prison cell gets smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. Does that make sense to you? Over time,
Yeah, it's
your life
becoming like
basically suffocates you over time. Say, for example, your relationships, you'll feel suffocated over time. Does that make sense to you?
yeah,
or your career will feel suffocated, and then you go, I need to start a new career. How many careers have you had, by the way?
I was gonna ask, like, it's been hard to hold on to jobs or relationships, or it feels like just as I'm getting somewhere, things start to shift, and I gotta
Mm-hmm.
drop it or something. And yeah,
Yep.
that's been quite a challenge.
Right. So what happens, Jacqueline, and correct me if I'm wrong, what happens for you is that when you get into a career and you think you're at the level that you should feel comfortable, this is where things start to break down, or you start to say question, if you should be in that career or job. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind
Absolutely.
of a crazy cycle, isn't it? Where it's like you work your whole, you work and you put in, you invest a lot of time, and you're very committed. Yeah, you're very committed, whether it's a career, a job, or a person. You're very, very dedicated to that person. But then you get to the top level where you can be, and then all of a sudden things start to fall apart, and it's like, I don't think I'm in this job. I don't think I should be in this job. Or it's like, God, this person isn't really for me. But although it's going really well, all the way up your climb. Does that make sense? How that works?
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it does.
yeah. So take a breath in,
It's very
hon.
puzzling.
Yep. Does your mom have lower back problems? Yeah.
Yeah, she does. She did have an episode of like,
Yeah.
dizziness.
So the reason why I say that, again, I'm not diagnosing. I'm just telling you what I see. Is I see your mom in your lower back. So when I scan you, like again, what I do is I scan how your programs work. Basically, like algorithms. Basically, how Google and Facebook understand what your trajectory is or what you're going to buy later on. I do that at a much deeper level, obviously. So when I see you, it's like when you get older, you're going to have like similar back issues because your lower half from your belly down, it feels like you feel like your mom's pattern. So whatever your mom is going through, again, like lower back issues, it's almost like she got shorter as she aged from what I'm seeing, tapping into your mom. You don't need to have that propensity. That makes sense. You don't have to have, say, the back issues that she's having. That makes sense to you?
Yeah. I was wondering if it's my dad actually, because I have a right side pain for like years, like,
Hmm.
and especially
Yeah,
coming from my liver, there's this tightness.
yeah. And that's why I say from your belly button down is like your mom. From your belly button up is like your dad. So you think like your dad. You're female, but you would have a more of a logistical mind. Again, more like a masculine identity. You can do that. You can do that. Again, you can have a logistical mind, ladies, without turning into a masculine identity. So, but most women don't know how to do that, and then they turn masculine. So, and this is where your split comes in as well. Again, you're almost like two different people. Mom on top. Mom on the bottom, father on the top, and that's why sometimes you feel split as well, or some of the choices that you make are kind of split. You can't. It's like, well, which way do I go? Well, you're both. Does that make sense to you? How that works? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I think we've laid out the situation. And again, I've never seen you before. I've never worked on you before, had sessions, and even if I did, I wouldn't remember. Anyway, but so that's the basic situation. And in most cases, you would have to go through, I don't know, freaking decades to figure all that shit out and still not come up with a resolution. But we're just going to do this in, gosh, I don't know how long. Like, I don't know. We've been on for maybe 3-4 minutes. So let's take a deep breath in, hon. What if I told you I could help you disconnect from all that um, in these few minutes so you can start, again, creating a different reality, a different experience?
Yes,
And you're
please.
already feeling that anyway. So, and remember that compression that I was telling you about, right? Or, and then with you, Jacqueline, as well, the 18 days that you did, I see things falling apart. Basically, you are throwing out those things that aren't beneficial for you. That makes sense to you. You're seeing things and it's like, I don't need this. That's why you're feeling it that way. It's like, I don't. Oh wait, my mom used to do this, or hey, that's my friend's habit. They used to do that. I don't need to do it anymore. You'll probably end up cleaning house, like getting rid of some of the stuff that you hold on to as well, because it's a representation of at a if you want to call it a spirit level, at a spirit level, but at your frequency level, you are deleting those patterns. So, and then it'll turn into a physical transition where it's like, hey, I need to clean my house out. You hold on to a lot of things that you don't need, right? Although you would think that, does that make sense? Like papers, files, all those things from what I'm seeing, it's like, well, I'm going to need him later. And I think that's your father's pattern, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
sounds like it.
yeah. Your father's pattern, and you're going, God, I don't know why I hold on to this. And that's why you have um, that so your father and your mother, basically those patterns, they dictate, especially your father because he's in the head. um, it's like, so you are awake enough to go, I don't know why I do this, but I do it, and you can't get out of that loop. Does that make sense to you as well?
Yeah, I've been
Okay, no
feeling
matter
like
what you've
that
done.
actually. Yeah, from
Yeah.
the
Yep.
15th day, I think it was throwing out all these things.
Yeah. So again, it's not psychology. No, you can change your psychology, but you'll still run the patterns. So but this is a mechanism in your genetic makeup, right? That you have to run, or again, duplicate your father's life, or think that way, think like your father. So let's get rid of that. Um, and then let's get rid of the mother's patterns as well. Let's reunite you. So you have you. So overall, basically, you've always been trying to find who you were. So in relationships and careers, it's like, if I succeed in this career, then I'll know who I am. And the reason why you get disinterested when you're at the top of your game or at your pinnacle, of that career, is because you come to the top and you go, shit, I'm losing myself even more. Does that make sense? Because it wasn't you. Does that make sense to you? That's why you lose interest, or you cycled back, basically. Because again, success is a magnifier. You come to a level of success, and it's the same pattern if you didn't have your mom and father. It's the same pattern. Take a breath in, Hannah, and just notice this area. It's the same pattern as people who set a goal. Like, if I do X, then I'll be really happy. If I make $1 million, I'll be really happy. Right? I work with those types of people, and it's like, they make the $1 million or do X or get into a relationship, and they go, shit, Moss, I'm not happy. I'm even worse off. There's a lot of entertainers that do that. Why? Because they lost themselves in the journey. When they reach the goal, they go, shit, I lost myself even more. So for you, you want to be that good person. So it's like, well, and then you start over again. You've had one relationship, one serious relationship from what I'm seeing. Yeah, in your
Yeah,
20s. You're still stuck with that person, by the way. So it's almost, yeah, you're still stuck where you still think of that person. That makes sense, or they think of you. Um, does that make sense to you, huh?
yeah.
So let's get rid of that as well. Again, it's just a massive, hey, Jacqueline, let's clean out your closet. Let's clean out your dungeon, okay? And get rid of everything that's there for you.
Amen.
Yes. So, and then not only you, Jacqueline, but for people who run similar patterns like you, who's on the call, or even if you're listening as a recording, we'll take care of you. So take a breath in. Just notice your spine, top to bottom, Jacqueline, especially your bottom half, and then there we go. Let's merge you into one. And then your identity comes in. So what you have to do, and this is your role, because I can't do it all for you. This is your role, is like, you see that you're doing something like your mom or your dad or somebody else. That's not you. It doesn't feel like you. Don't do it. I'm not saying not to do whatever that you're doing, but do it from your presence, not your mom's presence. And you'll see it's like, oh my God, my mom came through me, or I'm doing it just like my mom. So when that stuff happens, again, make that decision that you're doing it from your version, not her version. Got it?
Right. Yeah.
Anything else as we end?
No, I think that really covered all my concerns and
Yeah.
why I've been feeling so weird, especially over the past with the career and relationships. I think you really hit the spot
Yep,
on
absolutely.
those. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
you'll
this
see. Go
constriction
ahead.
thing is kind of a genetic thing, or
Say that again.
because you were explaining that I would feel constricted over time. So is that like a genetic kind of pattern?
Well, no, the genetic programming is basically that you lose yourself as you become successful or happy, because again, the pattern that you're running to again experience success is not your pattern. It's either your mom's or your dad's or somebody else's. So you basically, so when you're here, put it in another way, when you're in a relationship, all their garbage moves into you. Does that make sense to you? You support that person, and then you basically drown or get compressed, and then you feel suffocated in a relationship because you're that support person. In a career, it happens the same way. So what happens again is that in this next relationship that you'll have, you're not going to take on their burdens. You're not going to let them move in, say, frequency wise. Does that make sense to you? How that works? So you'll feel free. Okay. So
Ooh,
yeah,
thanks so much.
you're so welcome. So nice, really nice job. We'll move on. We'll go to Andre. Andre, are you there? Oh, you'd have to unmute yourself somehow. And again, as I work on one individual, working on you all as well. Yeah, for some reason, Andre, I can't hear you. He's unmuted. Yeah, can you guys hear Andre? Yeah, for some reason. Yeah, it's on your side, Andre. You're unmuted on my side as well. And I could hear you, but now I can't. Um, go to the little gear icon on Rendezvous, buddy. Uh, click on that. First of all, you can hear me, right? Just shake your head, nod your head. Okay. So on the gear icon, click on that, and then the microphone. Choose the microphone. And make sure that's connected to the right microphone. Hmm. No. Are you plugged in? Do you have a headset or something like that you're using? Are you using your speaker? Um, so what we'll do? Let's see. I can scan you, Andre, because you need that scan anyway. And you just shake your head. How's that? Does that sound good? Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. So just shake your head. And I know it's not the best. And then maybe we can bring you on some other time when we figure that out. But yeah. All right. So yeah, just give me a thumbs up if I say things. So anyway, when I want to work on you, I don't want to postpone you because you just need that extra help right away. So your life is really frazzled. You seem like a lot of times you're in despair all the time, no matter what happens. You seem like you're broken. Does that make sense to you so far? Or shattered? Yeah. So you might go, shit, I need to get my life together. That's basically what you would say all the time. I need to get my life together. Sometimes you feel like, again, your mental state is just like exploding, or a lot of things are happening at once for you, and you want to pull it all together. Does that make sense to you? It's it for you, Andre, your life, and that's why I want to work on you, buddy, because I don't want you to go any a second longer in the way you live, because literally I can help you transform like that, even if we can't communicate physically. And if you want to type in, and I think I can, if you want to chat, I think you can use the chat on Rendezvous. Okay, so if you need to ask me a question, maybe we can communicate that way. So, so that might work for you as well. But so, let's see. So for you, wow, you were in a lot of terror when you were a kid. Yeah, yeah. Breath in. Your mom probably didn't help the situation. She put you she put you in more terror. Even if she sometimes, even if she's trying to help, you know what I mean, for you, for that kid. And this is why parenting, it's like I see people, at the malls and stuff, and they're just, they have their little kid and the parent. I see so much fear and terror in the parent, and they're just like smothering their kid. Now you might not feel that smothering. You're more of a, your mom wasn't like that. Was she alcoholic, by the way? Or who was alcoholic in your family? Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so basically she's alcoholic. She's got, and that's why they call alcohol spirits, guys. Cause again, that's, you don't want to drink heavily during Halloween, by the way, the Day of the Dead. You don't. And that's what Mexicans do. They get fucking drunk. They celebrate. They pull in the dead, and it just entangles with them even worse. Not a good thing, guys. Or any other culture that does it. Anyway, so your mom, she gets alcoholic, and then she gets kind of abusive, and literally I can see her like shaking you when you're a little kid to stop crying or whatever, because you're very sensitive, and you see that she gets pulled into other realities. That makes sense to you. You might not be able to explain it that way, but basically you see your mom getting pulled out of herself when you're a little kid. Does that make sense to you? She's not like there completely, right? So, and then what happens is that you hold on to your mom because you're that loving kid. How many of you? And again, some of you go, God, this sounds like me. How many of you did that? Again, comment 10. So I'm working on you all as well. Okay, so and you pull them, no matter how abusive she is to you, so to speak. You still like, it's like, let's pull them in. So basically what's happening is that overall, nothing you can do in this reality, psychological wise, Andre, um, um, psychological wise, anything that you do in this reality won't help you. So, but that's why I'm here for you, buddy, because it's a time space issue. And again, psychology or anything that you do, if you take drugs or obviously alcohol, does not benefit you in any way. This is where you would take like psychotic medication, like, I don't know, Prozac and all that stuff. And then you would get suicidal thoughts. So this is the reason why. Does that make sense? You've tried stuff like that maybe, right? And it's like, shit, I feel worse. I feel more depressed. I feel more disconnected. Or, again, the extreme versions. And this is, again, I'm not a doctor. I'm not saying, I'm just telling you what I see, because I'm not a scientist, but better than that, I have future vision. I can tell what happens to you in the future or a situation. So the reason why those psychotic medications, the side effect is suicide or higher suicidal tendencies for people like you, is because you live in 5 different realities, 6th, including the one you exist in. Okay, Andre, take a breath in, buddy. Just notice the back of your neck. Okay. It's a little heavy for you as well. And again, and other people as well. Just notice the back of your neck. You don't have to say yes or no or anything like that. I got you, buddy. Just be in that moment, and let me just reset you. Okay. So you live in 5 different realities. 6th the one reality that you're supposed to. And you've done a fucking fantastic job, dude. I'm so impressed with you, by the way, because people like you, they would be in an insane asylum if they can't handle it. They literally can. So and you're getting tired out. It's like, yeah, I can't do this anymore. That kind of feeling, right? Breath in again. Notice your chest. When he said highly emotional, yeah. Well, when obviously an older gentleman, you're living your whole life like that, and then you give somebody their life back. What a gift, for the giver and, Andre here, and then any of you in the same space. Breath in again. So the science behind it, Andre, is that you are in one reality, but you live right on the edge. And then if you're on the edge, there are, say, different hallways, right? There's like 5 different hallways you could get to. So your mom literally, and not just your mom, but your environment as well, but mostly because of your mom was living on the edge of her reality. And then and she basically was holding on to you. And that's why sometimes she was really, really loving to you, and then sometimes really, really disastrous to you at the same time. It really fucks you up. You know what I mean? When you're a kid and you're going, how can somebody so loving just beat the shit out of me, so to speak? Right? Emotionally. It's like, how does a kid handle that? Right? It's like, what the hell happened? So anyway, imagine that you are on the edge of a cliff. Your mom is literally off the cliff and she's just getting pulled away. She latches onto you. You're going, hey, mom, you're falling off. You're latching on. So that's why you're just on the edge of a reality or consciousness. And then you've gotten stuck there. And then you see possibilities. So as a young kid, you have, and again, you still do, fantastic abilities, but obviously those fantastic abilities, just like mine, if you don't use it right, it'll fuck you up, buddy, just like it has. Breath in again. Notice your spine, your chest. And again, we're taking a little longer, guys, just because Andre needs it here. There we go. And some of you can see the frequencies. You can see Andre, right? You can see him start to come into him, like center in that reality. So imagine a circle, okay? You're a circle of your reality. It's actually a sphere, but in this case, again, you're in a ball. You're supposed to be centered. Andre always lives at the edge of that sphere or reality. His mom's always pulling him out of his reality. So he's stuck right on that, say, shell or skin of that sphere, right? Or a wormhole. And then he gets pulled into these realities. So his life, basically, from especially like 10, 12 on, imagine that you are paying attention to 5 TV screens at the same time, and you're understanding all of it. You have to keep track of 5 TV screens at the same time, the movies at the same time, right? That's what you live like all the time since you were a little kid. Does that make sense, buddy? So, breath in, bud. Let's disconnect you from those realities like I have been. And then center you. There we go. There we go. And by the way, the microphone thing, Andre, no matter if we did any technical checks or anything like that in the background, something would happen like this, because any opportunity for you to awaken in the past or good opportunities for you get shut down for you. Kind of like a bad luck type scenario as well. Does that make sense? You try your hardest and then all of a sudden it's like, it doesn't work out, right? So no worries. And that's why I wanted to break through this pattern and just still hold on to you, not reschedule it. I wanted to disconnect you from that pattern. Breath in again. One, two, three, 4, 5. There you go. Pull you into center. Let's help your mom out too, buddy. No matter where she is. Again, sometimes parents treat you like that. Not that they're just fucked up. They don't know what to do, So obviously different parents, but your mom didn't mean to do that to you. But that, when you're drowning, what else do you do? So again, let's help her, which helps you. And then later on, since you can go into realities, I can help you, especially if you keep doing the 18 days, the self-love coming up, I think November 1st, Andre, would be really good, because let's just say you need some loving, buddy, and that'll help you center more for you, okay? Or bring in that love that you've never had, literally. There we go. And then later on, once you get solid, you have a couple 18 days underneath your belt. You did the accelerated 18 days. You're solid. You have fantastic abilities. I can help you expand yourself into those realities. Because if you move like most people do, whether it's success or another reality or astral travel, whatever you want to call it, it's not a good thing. You want to have that inner expansion. By the way, the name of my book, where you are here and then you expand out into those possible realities. And that's where life gets really, really good for you. And since it's more of a, say, time-space issue, you will change like that, like you are. Look at you. And comment in, those guys. Comment in. Look at them. You feel here, don't you? You feel relieved, like you're actually in your body, not trying to hold on to your body or hold on to anybody. And this is also where you're not going to get into, say, relationships that are always like breaking apart, or you always have to solve something, or you're always in that crisis mode, basically your whole life. Does that make sense? How do you feel? Really good? Nice. Yeah, there's so many comments telling him that his eyes brighten up. Yeah, when I see you, it's just like you're here. I mean, yeah, look at a close-up of him, guys. Do you see that scared feeling is not there anymore? He's actually like, shit, I'm here. Like I'm home and I'm safe. Beautiful, buddy. Your whole demeanor changed, buddy. That's awesome. Hey, you know what I'd like to do is, I don't know when, but I think this year, and correct me if I'm wrong, Yami, correct me if I'm wrong, but are we going to have a reunion? Pepe? Yeah, we're going to have a reunion. Yeah, so November 21st. So Yami, get Andre back, because by then he'd be a totally different person. And that's what, about 21 days from now. So again, if you don't believe me, guys, and you're on this podcast, if you're on this Moss on Sunday, join me, bring your friends on the 21st, and we'll see how fast Andre's life has changed. Okay, simple as that. Because it's the bottom line. That's what counts. We can figure out how it works, the science later on. But again, getting deep results like this, there's obviously something to it. All right, bud. Good stuff. You take care, buddy. We'll bring you back on. All right. Look at you. I'm so happy for you. All right. Really good stuff, guys. Thanks. Again, took a little more time, but people needed it. So, what's coming up next, guys? How you can get into the XI community. Again, Moss on Sunday. Again, where we tell you, well, why life is the way it is, right? And how it works, the real why. The Moss experience tells you, gives you the little science, the logistics on how realities work, how time, space time works, how consciousness works. The lecture series on my website, masajady.com, that tells you the science behind it, and then elevates you, if you are ready, elevates you into the science and the logistics, so you can have, say, similar abilities. Obviously, you have to do the work. Basically, I train you on how to get the abilities that I have. Total Human Reset. It's a free information webinar Tuesday, November 2nd, 9:30 p.m. That's coming up for you guys. Total Human Reset. Some of you have done the Total Human Reset in the past. This is totally different, higher frequencies, different diet. It's where we transform your whole life in about the 18 to 22 days. We've got exercise plans, diet plans, it's literally resetting your life. This one is focused in on the relationship, the most important relationship that you can ever have with anybody. Right? Join me on the 2nd, and we'll tell you what that relationship is. Let's see, and then the actual Total Human Reset begins beginning of the new year. I think, beginning of the new year. We'll give you the logistics on that. What a great way to start a whole new life, right? Let's just forget about what happened and then go into that next phase. By the way, December 11/11, December 18 days, that's coming up for you. And then 11/11 meditation, global meditation, coming up for you, where again, it's like, this is an opportunity for you to let go of the past this year, especially. It's a great opportunity. Many people think it's a horrendous year. You XIers saw it as a great opportunity for you to clean out all that garbage and then start fresh. So it's a nice precursor for the New Year's. All right, guys. So as we end, that's it. As we end, guys, notice what you notice and notice those details. All right, peace. It's one of the best opportunities in history to awaken and reclaim who you really are. Any relationship starts with, that relationship with yourself. I'm actually here to change your underlying program on how you see yourself in relationships. What we do here in Xponential Intelligence is literally change you from the ground, or your main framework, okay? Your blueprint level.
As obviously works on a frequency level, and frequencies are like the A-bomb of healing, because they fundamentally change your structure from a biological, chemical point of view. Maz's frequencies, or Maz's meditations, they recalibrate that innate ability for a human being to come back towards homeostasis.
I think this type of thing, your work, XI, all that is a epigenetic factor. I think it is a great influence, because if you can turn a genome on, you can turn it off. And I think that with XI, with what you do, I think those are higher levels of a person that have not been turned on yet, that need to be turned on.
Right.
You can go in and hit like that little switch.
Yeah.
Turn that on, and it might be something new for this person, because it's something different, but that's what we want. This is all what we're wanting, is a better way, a higher way of existing and living and being.